This happened about 5 years ago, when I was living alone for the first time. I was 26, just out of a rough breakup, and had landed a decent remote job doing transcription work. All I needed was Wi-Fi, a quiet place, and enough space for a desk. I found an apartment in a building that, at first glance, seemed like a steal. Old but clean, decent neighborhood, affordable rent. It was one of those 2-story buildings shaped like AU, with a courtyard in the middle and external staircases leading up to the second floor. No lobby, no elevator. Just a straight-up 1960s style concrete and stucco setup. I moved into Unit 3A, upstairs on the left side. My windows looked out onto the courtyard, and my front door was right next to Unit 3B. That part's important. The first weird thing happened the day I moved in. As I was carrying boxes up the stairs, I passed 3B, the apartment right next to mine, and noticed a piece of masking tape stuck to the door. Handwritten on it, in faded ink, were the words, "Do not knock. She's not here anymore." I paused. It was creepy, but I figured maybe it was for delivery people or left behind by a forgetful landlord. Either way, it wasn't my business, so I shrugged it off and kept moving. The first few days were uneventful. I unpacked, set up my workspace, got used to the creaky floorboards and the smell of dust in the vents. It was a quiet building, too quiet, honestly. I barely heard anyone in the other apartments. Then, on the 6th night, I heard the voice. It was around 1:30 a.m. I'd finished a late shift and was sitting in bed, scrolling through my phone, when I heard a muffled sound coming from the wall I shared with 3B. A voice, female, repeating something over and over. I pressed my ear to the wall and listened. "Are you there? Are you there? Are you there?" Over and over. Same tone, same words, no variation. Like a recording. I'll be honest, it freaked me out. I don't spook easily, but there was something wrong about how calm and flat her voice was. It wasn't crying or desperate. It was empty, like she didn't care what the answer was. I didn't sleep much that night. The next morning, I caught my neighbor from 3C, an older woman named Linda, in the stairwell, and asked if someone had moved into 3B. Her face went blank. "No one's lived in 3B for years," she said. "That apartment's sealed up." I told her I'd heard a woman talking in there. She gave me a look like she was trying to decide whether or not to tell me something. Then she said, "If you hear her again, don't answer." That was it. She turned and went back into her apartment, like she hadn't just dropped a horror movie warning on me. I thought about asking the landlord, but he was never around. The leasing office was technically located off-site, and the property manager had a reputation for being unreachable. So, again, I tried to shake it off. Tell myself it was a weird dream, or maybe someone had moved in and just wasn't listed yet. A few nights later, it happened again. Same voice, same words. "Are you there? Are you there? Are you there?" But this time, it wasn't muffled. It was louder, closer. I swear on my life. It sounded like she was standing on the other side of my wall with her lips pressed against the drywall. I shouted, "Hello?" before I could stop myself. Instant silence. Then, after a long, long pause, her voice replied, "Oh, there you are." I felt like my skin turned to ice. I banged on the wall. "Who are you?" No response. Just silence again. The next morning, I stood outside 3B and pressed my ear to the door. I didn't hear anything. I tried the handle, locked as expected, but when I stepped back, I noticed something else. The tape was gone. The one that said, "She's not here anymore." In its place was a fresh piece of tape with new handwriting. It said, "She doesn't need an answer. She just needs a door." I was done playing nice. I called the management office and left 3 voicemails, demanding they tell me who lived in 3B. When they finally called me back, 2 days later, the guy on the line said, "No one lives there. Unit 3B has been unoccupied since 2012. I asked if they'd been inside recently. He said they hadn't touched it in years. Then I asked, "Did someone die in there?" Silence. Then, "Why would you ask that?" I hung up. That night, I stayed up with my ear to the wall. Nothing. Not a sound. But when I turned off the lights and lay down to sleep, I swear to God I heard scratching. Not like mice or rats. This was deliberate. Fingernails. Scraping across the other side of the wall in slow, even lines. Up, down, up, down. At 1:30 on the dot, the voice returned. "Are you there?" I didn't answer. This time, she changed it. "Let me in." I covered my ears and waited for sunrise. The next few days, I kept busy, went to coffee shops to work, slept at weird hours, tried not to be in the apartment much. But it didn't matter. The voice came every night, sometimes later, sometimes earlier. "Let me in. You're close now." Almost open. Then things started moving. I came home one evening to find my front door ajar. Nothing missing, nothing broken, just open. I started locking the deadbolt with a chair braced under the handle. I put tape on my windows, measured the slants. Everything stayed still. But that door, man, that door felt wrong. Eventually, I met another neighbor, a guy in 2A named Patrick. He was mid-30s, friendly in that slightly too intense way. He noticed me staring at 3BS door one morning and said, "You hear her too?" I didn't even try to play dumb. He told me he'd lived in the building for 6 years and had only heard her twice, both times during storms, both times while he was alone. "I think she moves between apartments," he said, "looking for cracks, for seams." "What do you mean?" He looked at me dead in the eyes and said, "I mean, don't talk to her. Don't invite her." That night, I barricaded my bedroom door. I was done pretending. At 2:04 a.m., the voice started again. Only this time, it wasn't coming from the wall. It was coming from inside my apartment. I don't know how else to explain this. I heard it as clearly as I'm hearing my own thoughts now. A woman's voice, low and cold and steady, whispering from behind a bathroom door. "You opened the door. You said yes." I bolted out of bed and ran for front door. It was wide open. The hallway outside was empty. Just me, the concrete landing, and the buzzing of the courtyard light. I left that night and stayed at a friend's place across town. I didn't even lock the door behind me. I didn't care. Let her have it. The landlord called a week later to ask why I'd left so suddenly. I told him flat out what happened. He was quiet, then asked, "You stayed in 3A?" "Yeah." Long pause. "That was the last place you visited before 3B was sealed. The guy who lived there before you, he opened the door too." I asked what happened to him. "Missing. The landlord said, "Never found." I hung up and never returned. To this day, I don't know who or what was in 3B, but I still hear that voice sometimes. Not every night, just now and then, on really quiet nights. When I can't sleep, it always says the same thing. Are you there?